The school hallway echoed with chatter as the morning bell rang. But room 3B was unusually tense. Mr. Raymond, the new teacher, walked in with a relaxed smile and a neatly pressed coat, carrying a single notebook. As he stepped through the door, he was greeted with silence and, then the chaos began. A paper plane soared past his shoulder, followed by a burst of laughter. One student pressed play on a speaker hidden beneath a desk cloud. Screams filled the room. Another tossed a stink bomb under the radiator. The class had built a reputation. 3 teachers in 2 months had either quit or transferred. Today, they planned to add one more to that list. Asterisk, but Mr. Raymond didn't flinch. He simply walked to the board and picked up a marker, as if none of it surprised him. "Good morning, class," he said calmly. No reply, just snickers and muttered jokes. A boy in the back mimed, falling asleep, slouching in his chair with fake snores. Asterisk, Mr. Raymond started drawing on the board. A straight line, then a dot in the middle. "This dot," he said, "is today. You get to choose where the rest of this line goes." No yelling, no threats, just stillness in his voice. "You've been underestimated, labeled, tossed aside. Maybe that's why you act this way." Asterisk, one of the troublemakers stopped mid-snicker. Another looked up from her phone. The room, slowly, began to shift. Mr. Raymond turned around, his eyes soft but steady. "I see who you really are," he said. And just like that, the room started listening. Asterisk, Mr. Raymond stood by the board, marker still in hand, facing a classroom, frozen between rebellion and realization. The timeline he had drawn stretched across the whiteboard. A simple line, a dot in the center, and nothing else. No lectures, no punishments, just presence. His calm gaze moved from one student to another. No one dared speak. Even the loudest troublemakers had gone still, as if trying to decode the silence itself. Then softly he spoke. "This dot," he said, tapping it with the marker, "is your right now. Most people stop right here because they think it's all they'll ever be." He let that hang in the air. But if someone believed in you, you'd see how far this line can go. Asterisk, the room felt different now, heavy but not with fear. With truth, raw, unfamiliar truth. Students who had come ready to mock were now locked in, eyes fixed. The boy who had planted the speaker under the desk slowly bent down and turned it off. The girl who had been filming on her phone quietly placed it face down on her desk. Asterisk, Mr. Raymond didn't raise his voice, didn't call anyone out. He just looked at them like they mattered. Asterisk, "You've been lied to," he said gently. "Told, you're worthless, told, you'll never change. But that's not your truth." Asterisk, for 60 seconds, the air didn't move. And in that moment, everything began to shift. They weren't staring at a teacher anymore. They were staring at someone who saw them. Asterisk, Mr. Raymond walked slowly to his desk, his footsteps echoing in the quiet room. The students watched, expecting another speech, maybe a lecture, maybe a warning. But instead, he reached into his bag and pulled out a worn, creased photo. He held it up without a word. It showed a boy, maybe 12, with a swollen eye and a cracked lip. Bruises peeked from under his shirt collar. The room went still. "This was me," he said softly. Chairs creaked as students leaned in, unsure. If they'd heard right, the confident, composed man in front of them, was that boy. Asterisk, "I was expelled when I was 15, he continued, his voice steady but low. Arrested at 17. I broke more windows than I can count. Fought anyone who looked at me wrong. Everyone called me a lost cause. No one dared to move." He gently placed the photo down and pulled out a folded letter, yellowed with time. "This was from the one teacher who didn't give up on me. She wrote it after I got suspended again." He unfolded the letter and read, just one line, "You're not broken, just buried. One day, you'll rise." Asterisk, a few students blinked fast, pretending not to wipe their eyes. The boy who'd laughed loudest earlier now stared down at his desk. Asterisk, "She died before she could see me become a teacher," Mr. Raymond said, his voice cracking slightly. "But every time I walk into a room like this, I remember what she saw. In me, even when I didn't." Asterisk, the silence was no longer awkward. It was respectful. The class, for the first time in a long time, saw themselves in someone else's pain. And they realized they weren't alone. Mr. Raymond leaned against the front of his desk, folding his arms as he looked around the room. The silence was thick, but not uncomfortable anymore. It was the kind that invited something deeper. "Let's forget the lesson plan for a moment," he said. "Let's talk about you." Asterisk, a few students shifted uncomfortably. Some looked away. No one spoke. He waited then. A quiet voice from the back broke the silence. What if nobody ever listens? The room froze. Mr. Raymond nodded gently. They will, starting now. Asterisk one by one, hands went up not to answer, but to speak. Not loudly, not for attention, just truth. Asterisk a girl near the window said, My mom's always drunk. She doesn't even know what grade I'm in. Asterisk a boy with a hoodie pulled over his head added, I sleep on my cousin's floor. We ain't got space at home. Asterisk another student whispered, I act like I don't care. 'Cause if I start caring, it'll hurt more. Asterisk no one laughed. No one rolled their eyes. The class that once thrived on chaos was now a room full of broken stories finally being heard. Asterisk Mr. Raymond listened without interrupting, nodding after every voice as if each confession built something sacred. Asterisk, you're not bad kids, he said quietly. Your kids carrying more than anyone should have to. Asterisk for the first time, the classroom felt like a safe place. Not perfect, not healed, but safe enough to be honest. And sometimes, that's where real change begins. Weeks had passed since that first morning, and room 3B was no longer the same. Desks were no longer barriers, they were workstations. The loudest voices had become leaders, not bullies. Students arrived early now, some even staying late, asking for extra books, helping erase the board, organizing shelves. The room that once echoed with pranks and curses now held the sound of shared dreams. Asterisk one afternoon, the principal stopped by for an unannounced visit. He peeked through the glass and froze. Students were reading aloud, helping each other with a group project, their faces focused and calm. Mr. Raymond stood at the back, arms crossed, quietly observing. Asterisk the principal stepped in, eyes wide. Is this really 3B? He asked under his breath. Mr. Raymond smiled but said nothing. The bell rang. As the students packed up to leave, they told him to stay for just one more minute. Confused, he watched as they pulled down a cloth banner they had hidden behind the bookshelf. The same students who once tried to break him were now standing proudly beside him. Asterisk one of them stepped forward and said, You didn't just teach us. You reminded us we're more asterisk. And in that moment, Mr. Raymond didn't need applause, awards, or titles. He had something better, a classroom that had found its worth, and a teacher who had helped them remember it. Mr. Raymond looked at the banner, reading every word like it was written in gold. The room stood still, the usual restlessness replaced with pride and something deeper, belonging. For the first time, the students didn't just feel seen, they felt valuable. A few of them stepped closer, unsure whether to smile or cry. Mr. Raymond placed a hand over his heart and whispered, Thank you, all of you. Asterisk one student, Jamal the boy who used to lead the chaos, stepped forward. We used to push teachers away because we thought they didn't care. He looked up, voice steady. But you stayed, even when we gave you every reason not to. His friends nodded. The class had started to believe in something bigger than themselves. The idea that they were worth fighting for, and that someone had finally fought. Asterisk from that day on. Room 3B wasn't just a classroom, it was a sanctuary. Students started mentoring younger kids, decorating the room with quotes they chose themselves. You are not broken, one read, you are becoming. They kept the banner up, not as a decoration, but as a reminder of who they were, and who they could become. The energy in that room was no longer loud, but powerful. Asterisk Mr. Raymond would go home each night, exhausted but fulfilled. He'd look at the same worn photo and the same letter, now framed beside his bed, and smile. His teacher's words had lived on, not just in him, but now in every student he reached. He hadn't just changed a classroom. He had sparked a movement. A small one maybe, but real, and in room 3B, that was enough. Asterisk, 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 asterisk.